Quite recently, Apple revealed the new M2 MacBooks, so another option in their list of laptops, which means the question of which laptop to choose is relevant now more than ever. One has to agree, it would be a shame if you buy a laptop that will soon cease to be up to date or turn out to be too weak for your workload. So in today's video, I will show you all the MacBooks for all and any budget and needs. In addition, I found one or actually two models that we don't recommend, so look out for that to not waste your money. Do you remember the M1 MacBook Air? Of course you do. The lightweight and compact laptop is made in a triangular shape. The laptop appears to be slightly tilted towards you, allowing the wrist to rest comfortably on the keyboard. In terms of design, everything remains the same as in the previous Intel-based MacBook Air. There's the same comfortable keyboard, a large touchpad, two Thunderbolt USB-C 3.1 ports, and a headphone jack. You can unlock your M1 Air using the Touch ID scanner, which is also used as a power button here. Battery life is an impressive 18 hours, and the 400 nit screen should be enough to watch movies and work from home or at the office. All this is good, of course, but this is the first MacBook with its own chip, and it's simply stunning. Or at least it was stunning until Apple introduced the new M2 MacBook Air. Apple released its first M1 Air laptop saying this is the future, and in the coming years these are the processors you should expect in most Macs. This is the first stage of a long-term plan which probably has already been scheduled for at least 10 years ahead. But is it worth getting this beauty in 2022? Let's take a look at what's inside. The M1 has 8 processing cores, 4 of which are designed for power-intensive single-threaded tasks, so high performance, and 4, on the contrary, are for the less intensive tasks that don't require much power, so high efficiency. As a result, it saves battery life, reduces heat, and distributes resources in a way that allows the laptop to work as efficiently as possible in any scenario, without failures and unnecessary throttling. You can safely work on the most basic tasks on the M1 Air. In terms of numbers, take a look at the results of real tests and benchmarks in comparison with the previous MacBook Air on Intel. You may think that the numbers look impressive, and that indeed is so, but only compared to the previous generation of MacBook Air. The M1 MacBook Air is still an up-to-date device. It starts at $1,000, and this price justifies the functionality that Apple delivers. It's compact, lightweight, and powerful enough for most users who don't need to work on complex, hardware-intensive projects. In other words, there is a perfect balance of price and properties. But it's not as simple as you might think. Don't forget that there is also the new M2 MacBook Air, which is a little more expensive, yet provides a different user experience and higher efficiency. We'll get back to it later, but first let's recall that along with the M1 Air, Apple introduced the 13-inch M1 Pro, and it was clearly less innovative than the Air laptop. Although there was a whole new M1 processor, compared to its younger brother, this device seemed weaker. Why, would you ask? The thing is that the performance in the 13-inch M1 Air and Pro is almost the same. Yes, some can say that there is a more advanced graphics accelerator, but in reality, if you work with heavy graphics and 3D, then both the M1 Air and Pro are not really suitable for that kind of work. Honestly, you shouldn't consider the 13-inch M1 MacBook Pro at all. I already talked about it in this video. But if the performance of the M1 Air is not enough for you and you should forget about the Pro model with the M1, then what should you choose? There is M1 Pro and M1 Max, and they're completely different both in price and in their purpose. And then you add the M2 MacBook Air, which is more powerful than the M1 Air, and things get confusing, but we're here to put everything into place for you. Before we talk about performance, let's take a look at 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. The design of the 2021 MacBook Pro is more rectangular on one hand and rounded on the other. A flat lid, rounded corners are very pleasant to the touch without sharp edges, well, almost. If you work on your laptop for a long time, your hands may feel discomfort. Well, at least that's been my experience. Among the benefits, of course, are the return ports and a card reader. And although it's clear that not everyone might need it, I absolutely need it. Farewell to the annoying adapters and docks. Next, HDMI, the fact that it's there is great, but there is a trap. It comes in the version HDMI 2.0, that is, it supports a maximum of 4K 60 FPS. Then, of course, MagSafe, which I really missed. Just so you understand, this is the third version. It's new and there is no backward compatibility, but there is fast charging, 50% in 30 minutes. None of this is in the M1 MacBook Air, but the M2 Air, Apple also brought back the MagSafe port, and now there is fast charging, 50% in 30 minutes, but via the USB-C adapter, not via MagSafe. And now let's take a look at the keyboard. Look how beautiful and full-sized it is, exactly like the one that comes with the iMac. Without the touch bar, which I didn't like, although I know it has its fans. It has a black background, it looks beautiful. In general, everything here looks nice and solid. The display has a notch familiar to everyone from the iPhone, where the full HD camera and microphones are located, and 120 Hz. Guys, ProMotion in MacBook Pro is fire. You can't say otherwise. The smoothness of the system has almost doubled, and together with the increased brightness and contrast of the mini LED display, looking at these screens in real life is great pleasure. None of the MacBooks have a screen like that, only fancy pros can boast of that. While surfing the web, my 16-inch MacBook Pro lasted almost 17 hours at moderate brightness. If you turn the brightness up all the way, it comes down to 8 hours, but that would be too bright for me personally. In the HDR mode at maximum brightness, you can watch 2 full-length films of 2 hours. So the battery life satisfies me completely. Inside of my 16-inch MacBook Pro, there's the Apple M1 Pro chip. 10 CPU cores split into 8 high-performance cores and 2 efficiency cores in a hybrid design. On the GPU side, we have a 16-core design. Without further ado, let's get to the performance test. Let's run it first in benchmarks and compare the results with the 13-inch M1 Pro. If in a single-core test the increase is small, with the use of all cores, the increase is an impressive 59%. This really is a lot, but there's even more in the graphics performance. The M1 Pro is twice as fast as the M1 in the 13-inch MacBook Pro. Now let's compare the base M1 Air to the base 14-inch M1 Pro with $1,000 difference. ProRes exports like 4 times faster, Blender like 90% better. The only thing that is almost the same is the H.264 export. So if you edit simple videos for YouTube and social media and it's the 8-bit H.264 footage, then I don't see a reason to pay more for the 14-inch M1 Pro. Unless you want to get a better display, extra ports, speakers, and all this stuff right in this MacBook. Now, what about the M1 Max chip? Let's take a look at the tests. The M1 Max is significantly ahead of its partner, the base 16-inch M1 Pro. This is especially noticeable in tests that require a lot of computing power, such as video rendering. Here, the M1 Max turned out to be 58% faster, and in Blender, it was exactly 56% faster. If your professional work involves traveling, then by choosing a MacBook Pro over a PC, you don't have to compromise on performance. It's an amazing device with a beautiful screen and high performance. It will suit most users for demanding programs, even heavy editing or 3D renderings. I want to emphasize, if you don't work with really heavy 3D and high-res videos on a professional software, M1 Pro will be enough for you. The M1 Max should be chosen only by those who actively render 3D and video content, so RAW, ProRes, 8K HDR, and so on, and with high requirements for the processing speed. A huge bonus of the M1 Pro, especially in the 16-inch model, is its awesome battery life. You will seriously get 12, 13, or even 16 to 17 hours from a laptop in moderate use. This will not happen with the M1 Max. It's a significantly more insatiable chip. It can blow out the battery almost 2 times faster than the M1 Pro if you start overworking it. If we look at the 14-inch model in general, this is the same 16-inch MacBook Pro, but in a smaller size. Will not linger here for a long time. I can only add that in terms of performance, it's also similar. The difference can be literally 2 to 4%, so not that critical. The 14-inch MacBook Pro is ideal for you if you need powerful hardware and don't want to lug around a 16-inch monster. Also, if size is not important to you, good for you, then you can save a lot by choosing this model. The difference in price is about $500. And how are the things going with the newly launched MacBooks, M2 Air and M2 Pro? The new M2 MacBook Air has a uniform body thickness without being tapered towards the front. For users of the previous devices, this may seem less convenient and the lower edge may dig into wrists, but in fact, due to its thinness, it's quite comfortable to use the device in my opinion. The M2 MacBook features an improved 13.6 inches liquid retina display, the maximum brightness is 500 nits, the M1 MacBook Air had just 400 nits, and the screen was 0.3 inches smaller. The main difference is the display with thinner bezels and the notch, which first appeared in the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. But there is at least one advantage to this update. There is now a better camera, a full HD resolution instead of HD. The M2 in general is a more powerful 8-core chip, which is made using a 5nm process technology. There are 4 high-performance and 4 power efficiency cores on board. There are 10 GPU cores and support for up to 24 GB of unified memory. The maximum storage capacity is 2 TB, and there is a media engine for hardware acceleration when working with various codecs. If you are thinking of moving to macOS or want to upgrade your old Air on Intel, it's worth it. But if you own the M1 MacBook Air, then I would advise you to wait for the M3. And we just received some interesting news. Some YouTubers have already received their M2 MacBooks and tested them in various scenarios. According to the test results, it's clear that the new Mac is worse than the previous model on the M1 in terms of SSD performance. In the new laptop, the drive is 30 to 50% slower. Curiously, the Pro model on the M1 has a drive consisting of 2 128GB NAND chips, while the new 13-inch Pro on the M2 has only one solid 256GB NAND. As you know, 2 chips allow you to increase the speed during simultaneous tasks. It looks like Apple didn't splurge on their new laptop. However, this limitation only applies to the base Pro 2022 model. The more expensive model has a 512GB drive on board, which already consists of 2 256GB NAND chips and produces approximately the same speed as the model on the M1. That is, to get a device no worse than the previous model, you need to pay $300 more and buy not the basic, but the pump version for $14.99. This is one of the reasons why we don't recommend taking it. It's no different from the previous 13-inch M1 Pro except for the processor, and as you remember, many people hate it, and they have a point. It was more or less the same as the M1 Air in terms of performance while being more inconvenient and expensive. The MacBook is not the cheapest of laptops, and the right choice of the device can save you money and nerves in the future. So let's do a quick rundown of our top list and remind ourselves of each MacBook model's pros and cons. In 6th place, we have the 13-inch M2 MacBook Pro. Nothing has changed except for the processor. Although, what did you expect from a laptop for the presentation of which 75 seconds of a 2-hour event were allocated to demonstrate it? As we found out, the base model also have a slower drive. In short, I would not recommend it. Next on the list, the 5th place is taken by the 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Max chip. It landed there not because it's bad somehow, but just the opposite. It's too good and expensive. We don't recommend buying it unless you're into heavy graphics. You'll just never reach its potential and pay $1,000 more than the M1 Pro model. In 4th place, we put the 16-inch MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro chip. Amazing laptop for work, specifically work. Besides, it's great even in the base configuration. But you want to consider how hard your job is before jumping into new MacBook Pros in advanced and maxed out configurations. 3rd place was taken by the 14-inch MacBook Pro. This is a good and compact device with a powerful inside. If you have to work on heavy projects on the go, this is a beast of a machine. And $500 cheaper than the 16-inch Pro, and is a good way to save money. 2nd place goes to the new M2 MacBook Air. Apple has completely redesigned the Air notebook with a new fast M2 chip and the return of the MagSafe charger. If you just want to get to know macOS, then this is the perfect choice for you. If you already have the M1 MacBook Air, then there is really no point in upgrading. And 1st place, drum roll, goes to the M1 MacBook Air. This is still a relevant laptop. It starts just at $1,000, which is $200 less than the new M2. If you want to save as much money as possible and at the same time get a good device, then the choice of the M1 Air is definitely the right one. It's a great device in terms of features and price. And this concludes my buyer's guide. If you enjoyed this one, then also go ahead and click on this one and see you in the next one.